Hello everyone! I'm offering a fun opportunity. Come design with me. So today I'm going to be doing a design tutorial of one of my favorite brands, OLIPOP. Every time I'm at the grocery store, I see these OLIPOP pop cans on the shelves, and I just think they are so beautiful and inspire me so much to design beautiful things. So I did take a peek at their website, and I started to wonder, can I replicate this website design within Rise using Mighty? So I did it. And now I'm inviting you to come along for the ride as I walk through all of my favorite sections of this OLIPOP course that I created, and I'm going to teach you some fun styling tips. So we're going to be pushing existing Rise blocks, we're going to leverage Mighty and use it to take us to the next level, and then we're also going to be using an outside design tool called Figma to help us create some on-brand visuals. So if you're interested, let's get into it. Let's just take a look at some of the fun elements that are being shown here. So this dynamic video that instantly grabs your attention. They've got split screen, kind of grid-like layouts, cool color palette and logos and fonts and good hierarchy, and then a lot of really striking visuals, and then kind of interactive elements where you can click through all of these different flavors and click on the buttons to go to different pages and all of that. So I really want to be able to replicate even the footers down here and this cool little interaction, we'll call it here. Kind of feels like a carousel. So before I get into designing, I am going to show you what I came up with though. So this is my course. Did you even notice that I clicked or that anything changed? This is the website. This is my course. The website, my course. So it's pretty similar. It's not exact down to the pixel, but it is pretty close, and I'm pretty proud of that. So let's talk about what I did at first. So up at the top in the OLIPOP website, they have this little call out for a discount code. So this is a pretty easy thing that we can add to make it feel very website-like. Just add in a paragraph block and then color it that background green color. Add in a fun hyperlink that can link to a Shop Now page. I pulled that link from their website, so it is the correct link. And then I also added in the correct font. So let's dive in here. Let's go into edit. And things are moving a little slow, so we'll be patient. But you can see I've got that paragraph, centered that text. And using Mighty, you can see that I'm using the font Teacher. I noticed this isn't their exact brand font, but it's pretty similar, so I went ahead and used it, and it's doing a great job. So let's look at this next part, the OLIPOP navigation. So up here, it's really clean, it's awesome. Websites always have these fun navigation tabs so you can go to different pages. In Rise, how often do we use that? For me, probably never. So this is a fun thing to try and do. I really wanted to get this layout, but I found that it just wasn't quite possible yet with Rise or with Mighty, but I did come up with another solution. So I decided to break up these two blocks here. So you can see I added in my logo as a labeled graphic. And if you don't know that fun trick, you just add your image. The dimensions that I used were about 2,000 pixels wide, 80 high, and that fit pretty well for the dimensions in Rise. And you can see if I go into these formatting settings that I have the image set to full width. I took off any hotspots in the image so there wouldn't be anything that was clickable. I'm going to take off the zoom on image click also, so it's not interactive in any way, and then it's good to go. I make sure that it is a transparent image too, so that I can change the background color however I need. And that's how we have that logo in there. Then I started to look at how can I do the navigation. This might be a little tricky. So you see in the original course, things are aligned all the way on the left, and I love that so much, but that was a little tricky. We do have those settings if you wanted to do a text block, and you could change it all the way to the left and do wide, but it's still not really as far over as I wanted. If I were to do one link, I don't know, it just wasn't quite working. But I did think of using the columns, and I set it to 4 so that I could put in 4 different links here. And then I linked the pages right there as well. And so I could also, using Mighty, change this however I wanted. Make it a little bigger, make it bold, whatever I want, change the font, but I was trying to make it look as similar to the website as I could. So I stuck with these settings. And then, of course, I wasn't quite able to get the shop and the profile and find in store. But I will say this worked for me. And this is more of a practical application, I think, too, for Rise courses, where we could link these to, we could create links like even buttons, interactive buttons that link to different pages in the course, or we could use these links to link up to other resources or something too. So while making this look just like the OLIPOP website, I did also want to make it look a lot like a Rise course and a practical application of things and design tips that we can apply to our courses too. So we're not just trying to make a website look, we are also trying to make practical applications for our Rise courses in the future. So there's that fun navigation up at the top. All right, so we just designed out the navigation up at the top, and now we're gonna look at this split screen text and video kind of layout. So I've never done anything like this before, and I'm assuming it's because it's not really possible with just Rise. But I think if I lean on some mighty magic, I can make this all come together pretty nicely. So you can see this is a video over here, and then we do have some stylized text, and it looks very nice and on brand. So let me just click into my course and show you. I pretty much nailed it. It's pretty close. It's not perfect, as I've stated before, but it's pretty close. So the first step for me was going back to the website and just saving out this video. Save video as, and renaming it and saving it to my desktop. And I was just gonna plug that right into the course, but then I remembered, I can't upload videos to the image and text block. I can only upload videos to the video block. So what was I gonna do? Well, I can easily convert a video to a GIF if I just type in my web browser video to GIF converter. It gives a bunch of free options, and you can do that in just a snap. So that's what I did. And you can see my OLIPOP GIF is uploaded. So the only difference between this and a video basically is that it auto plays, and it just goes on a loop. So it doesn't stop. In the website version, you see we have this pause and play, which is nice and adds like an accessible feature to it, increases accessibility, but we don't have that here. But luckily there's no sound in this GIF or anything, so it's not too alarming to have it just autoplay in the course. So next I want to look over here on the left at my text, and I want to stylize it just as I see in this website. So you'll see two different fonts and the colors and all of that. So using the image and text block, I was able to set things to full width, use that column ratio, change the padding between, change the padding on the left, the padding on the right, and the alignment and all of that. And those were my settings that almost got me to that split screen and gave me nice padding on all of the sides of the text, and it just felt really nice and clean. So that's what I used for that. And then I used the mighty RTE just to add in a new font, Windsor Bold, bumped up the font size, changed it to bold, and used the color picker to make it green like the color we used up at the top of the course. And then I added in that additional text, bringing the teacher font back in, and then I changed out the background just to this custom color that the website used. So you're probably wondering where the Shop Now button is, and I have a reason why I didn't use it, and let me show you. So luckily, with Mighty, we have a lot of new features that we can apply to our interactive buttons. So that makes things a lot more fun these days. So, I can hide the description, I can change the content width, I can align this all the way to the left now, and then I can customize all those other things too. But if you look, it's still not quite enough to get that perfect look that I want. It has to be in a separate block from the rest of the text. So it does, in my version, feel a little isolated. Even if I change out this background color to match, in my opinion, that feels a little too disconnected. It's not lined. It's not like centered on this text. It feels very floaty and strange. So I just opted not to use it, and I didn't think it was adding any value to this course just because there are other options to see the Shop Now button later on in the course, so I didn't think it was totally necessary here. All right, so my next challenge is to try and recreate this carousel as best as I can. And this is so cool. There's so much going on here. It just is a carousel that includes all of the classic flavors that go with the OLIPOP brand. And when you hover over one, it gives you that cool little animation. And it's so fun. I already know I'm not going to be able to accomplish this perfectly, but I sure can try. And I took two good solid attempts that came up with two awesome results they work pretty well. So let me just share those with you. So the first one, of course, I'm using the carousel block. I tried to think of another block that I could use, but I did feel like the carousel did have this kind of UI that I needed, and nothing else was going to have that. So I did use that, and you'll see I have 8 different images uploaded to this. So look closely as I advance, follow the classic grape, and see how it moves over to the left, one increment, and each image follows the same pattern. So it does kind of feel like how each of these flavors move over one to the left with each click. And so I want to show you how I set this up. I had to use a separate design tool called Figma. It's my favorite tool to use for design because it's so efficient and clean and just intuitive in it. It's really nice. So if you haven't tried it, go ahead and give it a shot because it really will help you elevate your design work in Rise. So let me just show you. If you're not familiar, I'm sorry. I'm going to give a high-level overview, so hopefully it's not too confusing. But you'll see that I have all these different frames set up, and I have one for every click, basically. So there are those 8 images here, and I exported them all out and uploaded them separately to Rise. And so I basically just wanted to get those cards. I took a screenshot so I could replicate the style. Basically, it's pretty exact, but I used this as a reference just so I could stay really close to that design, and I was actually able to pull these images straight from the website. So there is a place, if I go to Shop All Flavors, this is where I can just pull these images here and save them to my desktop and then just drag them right into Figma. So that helped me save a lot of time. So then the next step was creating a rectangle in here and then looking at the corner radius because these corners are nice and round. So something like this, that doesn't feel on brand. The color's right and stuff, but let me enhance this and just give it about 20. And then now it feels so much better. And there's also the text. So I wanted to just use the Windsor Pro font, making it kind of small, making it the right colors and all of that. And then it looks like this has the corner radius applied too. So then I wanted to do this fun little star detail. So you see all of these flavors are rated something different. So that added a lot of time to my process, but it was a fun little value add and super cool to play around with. So I just created 5 different stars and did a mask here so that I could change it however needed, and that helped a lot with the workflow. So basically I just took all of these different flavors, copy and pasted, and made so many. So you can see all of them: peaches and cream, cream soda, chicka cherry cola, Ridge Rush, ginger lemon, they're all in here. And so when I upload those images separately, it does finally give me this look. Takes a little bit of time, but it was really fun to play around with. I think my only thing that I would want to change about this would be making it full width just so it aligned better with the website. So it would really take up the screen and feel really impactful and engaging, and you could see this animation like working a little bit better. When it's like this, I felt like I had to describe it to everyone watching to know what was happening. It's not just like random. So I did want to try another view of this to isolate one flavor at a time, but still get kind of that vanishing little carousel feeling. So I did that here, and you'll see as I click through, it does still advance. So Tropical Punch was the highlighted here, but now it's moved to the left, and now we've moved on to Vintage Cola, and if I click again, Ridge Rush will be in the middle highlighted. So that's a really fun way, and I think there's a little bit more focus here on one item at a time. So if I didn't want to lean too close to the brand or like the website design specifically, I could go with something like this. It's a little more accessible because I have the text here written into the course and it's easier to read, but then I still have those fun elements like the star ratings and all of that. So I will walk you through how I set that one up in Figma as well. Of course, I used a reference screenshot to get all of the styling right, but basically took those same rectangles and groups in the design that I made before, and I had that set to 100, and then I just dimmed these to 25%. So it would look like they were disabled or just less important information, and this was what we were focusing on. So then for the second image, I just moved Tropical Punch over to the left, dimmed it, and then made Vintage Cola move to the center and brought that to 100%. So following that whole pattern all the way down with those images, exporting each frame out individually, and then uploading them into Rise, I was able to achieve this look. And I personally just like it so much more, trying to come back to that theme of creating practical designs for Rise courses and Rise courses that I might have in the future. This is a route that I would take over this one, but this one definitely looks a little bit more like the website and stuff. So there you go. Okay, so I'm happy to see our next block is a little less interactive. And it's definitely less interactive in the way that I designed it out versus the website version too. So here we have 4 fun icons, some text, a button, and an image on the background. So you can see what I did to achieve this look. There's a little less detail going on though. So all I did was an image and text. I pulled this image from the website and that transferred over really nicely. I stylized the text to match the course, and you can see these are my settings. These are, I believe, the exact same as the first image and text block that I showed at the top of the course that I used with the video. So same thing, because this image was roughly the same size as the video that I saved. So this section was actually really easy. I just had to change out the background color using the color picker to match with the photo, and it was a piece of cake. But I am looking at this and trying to remember, why didn't I include that? Well, it was tricky to include for sure. We talked about that button already, and if I wanted to include it, it would have to be a separate piece below the text. It couldn't all be together, and it felt a little bit isolated and awkward. So just to refresh your memory, let me toss in a button real quick, and you'll see it just doesn't feel so great. I wish there was more we can do, and now I'm a little inspired to continue suggesting some more mighty edits and see what we can accomplish. But you see how that feels kind of weird. And then of course, again, we can't add in 4 images to image and text. So that's going to be weird, and we have to do that separately. So I have to do this gallery, or I could probably do like the text columns too or something and play around with that. So let's look at what it looks like. Yeah, so we do have text here, so I might actually want to use, instead of this, I might want to do the column text and then change that to 4. And then also say, let's turn those images on. Now, what else can I do? We don't have the option to send things over to the left, so it won't be able to align with the text over here. This is as far as we're going to be able to get it. And let's remind ourselves, we do have 4 images. So let's see, can I save these? Awesome, of course I can. This website makes it so easy to save all of these assets and just plug them into Rise. So let's do that. So let's first change out the background using the mighty color picker. And then let's upload these images. So I believe it's the icon $. desktop, $, and then the phone probably, and then maybe the car, and then the X. Yeah, so okay, that looks really bad. So this is where I would want to go back into Figma. We've talked about how much I love it there. And I would set up a frame down here. And I mean, some kind of guess. And I would take that image, drag it. Ooh, we can see how small that is. So if I expand it, it'll get pixelated because it's a small image. So I'm going to see what I can do here. Trying to align this with the size of the rise dimension. So we know that the columns has images that are pretty rectangular, not square. So that's what I'm trying to replicate here. But since this is so tiny of an image, I'm just gonna label this frame, icon, whoa, I can't spell, $, no process, because no process tag will help this not compress and help us keep it nice and sharp if we can, but I have a feeling it's not going to, so we're just gonna see. So I just exported that image. Now I'm gonna upload the one that has the frame. So if you look close, you can see the difference between the $sign was square and now it's rectangular. And I left aligned it so it'll line up with that text. So that looks bad because it's so small. But I could also just take off the fill, re-export, and that'll allow it to at least be transparent and not have that white background on it. So that's cool. Let's re-upload. See how it looks. Okay, that's decent. It also looks now like it's cropping because I don't have the exact dimension. So I'm just gonna crank that over just a little bit, see how it works. Re-export. Hopefully this is the last time. I get sucked down these spirals of exporting images over and over again just to get it pixel perfect. And okay, that's a little bit better. So we could do that. We could apply this, all 4 of those images. I'll just upload the $sign so we can get like an idea of how it would look to have images in the columns. And will it feel weird and disconnected from the rest? It kind of does, but it could work. Let's see what we have here. There's no padding that we can take off of here. So what else could we do? This image is really holding us up. So, I mean, if worse came to worse, I could just start copying this text. Let's see if I can match the style and get that color going. So there's also a gap here. And even if I took off the zoom on here, trying to do anything I can, maybe I could change the column spacing. That didn't really help that much. You see it actually took off the edges on there. So, you know, in my opinion, it just looks bad in comparison to the website. So if I'm trying to make a one-to-one of the website to my Rise course, that's why I left it out, because it wasn't helping me at all. It wasn't adding value or anything. But I do think there could be some flexibility. I think if we took maybe this image out, we could possibly even use it as an image background and do more of a full width image behind this whole thing rather than just the square. That would help us be able to adjust the padding underneath, bring this up a little bit more, and it would still be off. It wouldn't be left aligned, but it would have that indent. And I think that could still look pretty cool. We could have the text filling in there, and I think that would be okay. But for now, since I'm just playing around and just trying to please myself with this design, I'm gonna leave it at this. All right, so the next layout that we want to try and recreate is this cool quote pop in the press section. So if you click on each brand logo, it brings up a different quote. It gives a lot of credibility to the brand, I would think, but I knew I couldn't, again, accomplish this exactly how it is in this website, but I came up with two different options. So one is a more accessible, I would say, option that has editable text here, and I stylized it using the body font and the heading font, and then also recolored this to be a creamy-ish color like it is on the website rather than straight white. And then I simply just changed out the image background. So I just searched for, I think, like a cola texture and found something that felt pretty similar. It's not quite, but it's similar. So that accomplishes just making something cool for like a statement or a note block or a remember or any kind of tip, something that you really want to stand out. But I was kind of upset that I didn't have all of these logos in and that I could only show one quote at a time. That just didn't seem close enough to what's here. So here's my other option. This one, I used a carousel block. And again, I put that little texture image on the background so it would cover over the whole thing. I have stylized text, but you can see this is an image, and you can click through the arrows to advance. So while it would have been great to be able to click the logos, that's not quite possible with my limited time and skill within Rise. So I wish I could have taken off these little arrows and just even used the dots down here just to make it feel a little bit more aligned with this branding. But let me show you what I did. I pulled a screenshot into Figma, and then I set up some frames. The dimensions are roughly 1800 by 900. And then I duplicated them each with a different quote and then highlighted the logos. So you can see the ones that aren't being used are dimmed to 35% over here. And then the one that is being used is 100% over here. So it does kind of give this illusion that you're navigating through different things. You just have to use different elements to get there. So I exported all 4 of these images and uploaded them like so, and I made sure that they were all transparent images so that this background would show all the way through. And one thought as I was designing was, could I use the quote carousel so then I can still have editable text, and maybe I can upload like a little logo to the image upload option. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to take out the background box, so that just felt very not aligned with the branding here. So I decided not to, but that could definitely be another option to create this fun clickable carousel that doesn't have to rely on photographs or imagery or anything like that. So there you go. That one was pretty fun and pretty simple, but I love the 2 different options. All right, so the next section of my OLIPOP design tutorial is this, but I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't really sure what I should do here. I was like, I could probably use the embed block and create maybe one link and then one below, but I didn't think those images would transfer over or anything. So I decided to skip it and find something more exciting to design. So I went to the Shop All Flavors page, and I loved it so much. We get to see all the fun flavors, and it's just so beautiful. Also, I knew I could do this header almost perfectly, so I wanted to kind of flex that and boost my confidence after those last couple interactions. So here's my course, here's the website, here's my course. So yeah, basically I just put in a paragraph. I formatted this Windsor bold text and colored it out how we've been doing throughout this whole thing. The background color matches, just did it custom with the Mighty Color Picker. And then I added in a spacer block and put in the image that I pulled from the website and just saved that to my desktop, uploaded it right in here. And then something really fun was I used a Mighty transition. So I just want to show you how easy this is. So let me just bump this down so you can see what it looks like without the transition. It's still really cool. I like that sharp edge actually, but I want it to look like the website. So adding in the transition, and when you're using like a spacer block or anything like that, and you just put a transition directly below it, it just inherits that background image if I have this on. So that saves so much time, because usually I would design something out like this in Figma and upload it as a separate image, and it would just be really exhausting. So this is so simple. And then of course, if you're familiar with our edit transition settings, you can have all the fun adjusting this and playing around with it. So if I just delete this out and bring my old one back, it's good and back to normal. So perfect. Now that was super easy and super quick, and my confidence is sky high. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice right now how happy I am. So let's go back to the website and look at what's next. So our flavors. So we have a ton of flavors here, and I was like, okay, this is gonna require me to design a lot of fun images, and I had so much fun designing all the other images for those carousels and whatnot, so I wanted to do some more. I did see this cool filtering shot by our flavors, variety packs, and gift cards, and it does navigate straight down to the bottom of the page, but I don't have those skills, so I knew kind of when to fold, and I decided just to see if I could get all these fun images in here. So you do see they're in this grid, a 4x4. So I did a 4x4 grid, and then I did label this so it could be a little bit more accessible, and we could have this editable text out of the images. So okay, that was cool, but I just felt like it was really pretty, and I love seeing all of these, but it didn't really accomplish like the cool little elements and those waves and the reverse side of things. So I was like, well, what does this remind me of? I can't really do this treatment, but like this reminds me of kind of a flip card, right? So I next took these images, applied them all to a flashcard grid. So unfortunately, we can't do a flashcard grid as a 4x4. Then it drops down to rows of 2 and gets really big. If you know Rise really well, I don't need to describe that anymore. You just get it. So I decided to just make it a 3x3, so that changed things just a little bit, but still gets the message across. And then when you flip, it brings up the really nicely designed wavy background with the description, and the stars are back, and each one has its own custom photo. So I was able to pull all of these image assets out of the website. So like when I click on this, I was able to save these images, but I did have to do a lot of design work myself. So I pulled that image, but then I did have to design all of the text and the stars and the waves out again. So it was really fun, but you can see there are a lot of them. So it was really important that I learned how to copy and paste, use my color picker, and just style things really quickly, so that I could finish this in a timely manner. And that really helped for sure. So yeah, I think I like this option much better just because it is more interactive. It is more engaging. It does feel a little bit more like the website, in my opinion, even though it's a different type of interaction. It's like it has a little bit of drama and flair added to it rather than just these static plain images. So that was the route that I decided to take here, and I'm actually really happy with it. I think it's really cool. And I will say, one thing that I like more about my design versus theirs is that their line doesn't finish all the way. They have these 2 floaters, but mine finishes on evenly because it's divisible by 3 and it's not divisible by 4. So pat myself on the back for that one. I got to take my little wins where I can get them. All right, so we are at the last section of our OLIPOP design tutorial, and this section is a footer with a bunch of links, and it's pretty interesting. And I knew this one was going to be a little challenge to design, as they all have been, to be honest. So you'll see we've got this cool wave down at the bottom, a nice solid green background, 4-column text, things that piece of cake, I could do that in my sleep. But then we have this interesting section over on the right where you can input your email address into this field and then click the subscribe button. We have clickable social media links, all of that. So some things are going to challenge me. So let's just see what I came up with. It's not the exact same, but it is pretty close. It gets the whole idea across. I did put in a mighty transition using the wave, and then of course I adjusted the settings just to make this a flatter wave to align with the brand. Then I colored everything green in the background, and then I used the 4-column text to create those 4 columns of the links. And all of these are hyperlinks, so they do work and send you to other pages on the website. There's one cool thing about this. When you hover over these links, they turn yellow. And since I don't have the theme color set to yellow or anything, there's no kind of hovering animation going on here. So I wanted to get some yellow in here. And so I just put those on the titles up at the top. So in the website, these are white, and I think that looks great too. But I just wanted to give a nod to that yellow color and make this feel a little bit more branded and tied in with the subscribe button. So that's what I did there. I wanted these columns to be more condensed, like they are on the website, so I could put all the extra information over on the right side. But that just wasn't gonna be possible, especially or even so when I clicked on that small column spacing, it didn't condense in as much as I wanted. So I figured it would be totally fine to put all that information right below those columns. So I did get the subscribe button in here, and it does link to a subscription page where you can input your information. So I can check that off and feel okay about that. But the thing that I really want to show you guys how to do is add in these text icons. They are really fun and cool. So they're not images, which is I think the most exciting part and makes this so much of an easier process. So to do this, I'm just going to add in a text block, paragraph, and type, let's say I want to do the TikTok. So I type TikTok in, I center this text, I'm going to enlarge it just a bit to make it easier to see. Then I'm going to select this text and just highlight it. Then I go to a website called Font Awesome, and this is where I can search for my icon. So I just go in the search bar, and you can basically search for anything you want. But since I wanted that TikTok, I'll just type in TikTok, and conveniently they have one right here for me, and it happens to be free. So I go up here and I copy this Unicode, and if I just click on it, it instantly copies. I can go back to my course, and this is where it gets a little intimidating. I go into the RTE and I click Code Editor. So I'm not a developer, I'm a designer, so doing things like this is a little scary, but it's always fun to try something new, and it helps my workflow so much to do this rather than using images for icons and stuff like I probably would have before. And so I can just highlight this TikTok text in the code, and then I put in 3 different characters. So ampersand, the pound, and a capital X, and then I just paste that Unicode in. And then, so we've got that going on, but I need to do one more thing. I can select this, and you see it's reading teacher font. Teacher font doesn't have any kind of icons in it, but Font Awesome does. So Font Awesome is a font that you can get from that Font Awesome website, upload it to your Rise fonts how you would with any other font, and then it just applies. So you can also edit this however you want. So since the course uses that green background with the white, I can also change the size. Clearly, I can change the formatting and put all these different links in a line together. I can just have a good time and format this however I like. So that is one cool tip about how you can add in some icons. I do want to show you, it doesn't have to be social media. You can use anything. So let's say I needed a checklist. Let me type that in and see all my options. So they have pro ones. These are paid ones. The ones that don't say pro are free. So have fun with this. This one is probably the best. I saved the best for last, in my opinion. But yeah, it's a really cool one. So enjoy. All right, so I hope you had a lot of fun with that and got a lot of value out of that whole series of videos that I shared with you. I had so much fun designing all of that out and I want to do it again. So if there's any interest in seeing some more brands replicated or anything else that you want to see from me, let me know and I'll get right to it. Until then, see you later.